say that the intent and objective of this war is to get rid of these people.
Yeah.
And get rid of the Palestinians in total. He's saying wiping them out.
Yeah.
And he has proceeded unhindered because of the support he gets from the US and other European countries as well.
Yeah.
So you telling me all this thing about the people suffering, it making no impact to me because the UN, who is supposed to have power and have nations go in and vote against this and say all the things about it, just talk as well. Nobody is doing anything concrete. But what I can tell you, Byron, and from where I sit, Israel will forever be remembered for these atrocities to the Palestinians. There will be a nation of people that will be, in my view, scorned.
And deserving so.
Yes, because you can't commit genocide without consequences. The
Yeah.
average Israeli who may or may not support this is going to be tarnished for that for life going forward and for generations.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, you know, what Hitler did to the Jews is no different to what they are doing to the Palestinians in the Gaza.
Yes.
So they probably learn well from Hitler.
Yes.
So I'm saying that without no apologies, because when you see and the atrocities that are going on, and it's not just people, they're destroying infrastructure.
Everything.
So it is it's like a total wiping out.
And it's the humiliation, you know, the beggars they've created. I mean, when you look at the scenes of Gaza before this, and I mean, I'm not condoning the killings and what Hamas did last year, but I'm saying that does not justify this collective murder of so many people. You know, 60,000? That's a lot.
Netanyahu, as far as you're concerned, is on point.
So I am standing here I'm saying that we're calling on our government, CARICOM.
What in reality, what could our government
even though look, we could sever diplomatic relations. Belize did it.
But
Belize did it.
What
but it sends a message.
No,
it sends a message that this is unacceptable.
That wouldn't stop Mr.
It wouldn't
Netanyahu,
stop it, but it sends an important message and a
even
signal.
Even though we do that in the Caribbean as CARICOM, it ain't stopping what's going on.
It may not stopping, but we have to join the world order in condemning what is. We have to be part of the condemnation of it. We must not fold our arms and shake our head and say,
okay. We condemn it, but
so we continue.
Netanyahu will not stop.
But we continue. It's unacceptable. It should not happen. Yeah. Chris, let's move on. Here's the thing. What's making the news now? We understand that government is seeking to reduce the age of. It's called civil legal responsibility from 18 to 16. That is to allow teenagers to access sexual and reproductive health treatment. There's some discussion on it. I heard the opposition party saying that they will not support it. There's need for more consultation on it. But how do you see this, though? I mean,
I haven't read the white paper, so to speak, of what is being proposed.
Yeah.
But if I am to interpret from what I've heard so far, is that moving it from 18 to 16 is acknowledging that the young people at that age, primarily our boys and our ladies, are more sexually active.
Yeah.
And they want to give them access to things like family planning and understand what is the preventative issues, use of condoms if they have to be involved in sexual activity, and the rising incidence of STIs.
Yeah.
And so that they could protect themselves and at least educate themselves on the consequences of going in that
independent of the parents.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that is partly, and that will require some consultation, I think, deeper, because there's a religious community that doesn't believe that we need to grant access so early. But you could always argue the other point. The children are involved in sexual activity anyway. So, I mean, it is something that society has to play with to understand. And then again, you know, the law was designed in such a way that if you interfere with a young lady without consent at 18, or you had consent from 18 to 16, you're not termed as rape.
Yeah.
Anything from 16 below is termed as rape.
That's
and
correct.
The consequences are quite different.
That's correct.
So I don't know if this particular adjustment to the law or this new act will also impact that and how it is applied.
What the government is saying that they've had consultation on this has been a talking issue before. There's only one aspect of the bill that I read, the draft, it's a bill, white paper that I read, that says that there's special circumstances where the minister can grant permission for up to a 12-year-old to access these services independent of the parents. I think that needs a little more discussion and clarification for me. But the standard one of moving it to 16, I am on with that.
I mean, the other thing we have to take into consideration, you know, this is a society where sexual offenses continue to dominate
Their
their
sizes.
sizes.
Absolutely.
Whether it's abuse, whether it's rape, whether it's
And
incest.
a lot directed towards children.
Correct. So we have a problem in the society.
We do.
And
Yeah.
I could understand the government and the people who are in that area,
Yeah.
the social workers,
Yeah.
are clamoring for
Yeah.
something to give them a little more control.
Yeah. Chris, you're on the road a lot. The Push and program is on. A lot of weed eaters are they're by the road. They pose some danger to civilians and vehicles. You know that?
Correct. And I had an experience recently where
Yeah.
a stone flew from the work they're doing and hit my vehicle. And, you know, the issue is, here we're doing a weed eating. I'm happy for the people who walk in and so on. But
Yeah.
why can't we put up
Yeah.
a screen by the weed eaters? Sometimes the ladies with the rakes are standing there doing nothing, waiting
Yeah.
for the guys to finish the
Yeah,
rake.
yeah.
And I think that's just a protective thing for us,
Yeah.
because if my windscreen get broken, who are going to charge for that? I can't charge them workers there. I can't charge the weed eater man. I've got to take government to task. But the point is, why are we not in a reactive mode and we can't be proactive? When the Trinidadians were up here with their thing, they had their screen up. You have a screen with a simple screen.
Yeah.
And I'm not understanding why we can't do something like that to protect, as you say,
And it's feasible.
civilians
And not only that,
and
too, they
vehicles.
remove the barrier in the weed eater itself. So there's
Correct.
no
Yes.
that barrier there, both for the string and for object, is removed. So it's an easy do.
Yeah,
Chris,
low-hanging fruit.
Chris, low-hanging fruit. Chris, we have rising suicide rates among young males. You know, we've had another one recently, 2 in the last couple of weeks. When you look at it, it's mainly coming about as a result of untreated mental health issues. You know,
Well, we
problematic substance abuse.
We have a major issue in the country with what I would call depression. And
Yeah.
depression affects various people in various ways,
Yeah.
different ways. And it's sometimes very hard to identify.
Yeah,
You may have a child living home, and parents can't understand that that child is in a depressed state for whatever reason, whether it's the home life or something else. So, I mean, bullying does lead to that and all sorts of things. The point is, we in a society where we have so much information available to us, and yet still the easy way out is to commit suicide, which when we talk about we making advancements, we're making advancements how? If we're not making advancements in mental health in our youth.
yeah.
And then it requires a deeper understanding of what is going on. And it just seems, and most of these suicides is men more than women.
Young men.
Young
And a
men.
big part of it I learned is a lot of it had to do with societal expectations that discourage vulnerability, if you understand. So you're not allowed to fail, or you're not allowed to not have a girlfriend and that sort of thing, and that is seen as that's a vulnerability. You know, that is a
That's
factor.
just one of the many things.
Many things, of
I mean,
course, many
but
things.
the issue is, I think parents,
academic pressure also
yeah,
can
parents
lead to
and
this.
families need to be trained in order to understand how to identify a
These
depressed
issues.
child, how
Yeah.
things change with their character, how they get more withdrawn. All of
Yeah.
these are things that they need to pay attention
Sure.
to. But here you have two parents working. They ain't had time to watch their children in that way. They're fighting up to make ends meet, and when they come home, it's homework. It's to get rid of the homework, and you know, it's a difficult thing
It's
for
true.
parents as well.
It is true. Chris, we had a fuel cost increase across the board. Another factor in cost of living.
Yeah, well,
What's the impact on that?
The impact, of course, is the government have made an arrangement with the bus drivers to not increase their fees. So the average cost of transportation should remain the same. They're
Yeah.
giving them a rebate on fuel and concession on
Yeah.
parts.
That's on the tax part only, yeah?
Yeah. So they're getting some relief.
Some relief, that's
But
correct.
I think what is happening here too, on the bigger picture and strategically going forward, is the prevalence of EVs on the road now. We have a lot more EVs on the road. So people are moving away from gas-driven and gas-fuel vehicles and moving into EVs. The issue with the EVs now is how much charging ports we have in the country and what will be the cost to charge up and so on. But you're now seeing SUVs, you're now seeing pickups in EV,
Everything.
sedans and everything. And the technology obviously has reached a stage where going up the hills and so on with load and so on, the EV could handle these things.
A lot of this is coming from China, and we're seeing new dealers coming on stream. So this is interesting how the whole sector
Yeah, and remember the government now
changes.
charges duties on an EV.
Exactly.
Totally.
So,
It's
exactly.
encouraging the prices
So you
more
can
reasonable.
get a brand new EV car out of China now, available in Grenada right now for under $60,000.
Correct. And,
So that tells you what's happening.
yeah, and
So that's going to impact on the used car market also.
yeah, well, I think
Yeah.
that's a positive thing for
Yeah,
the country.
sure.
Quite
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah,
Because it's what is also going to create, if you're thinking out down the road, is a garbage problem.
Yeah,
What we doing with all the fuel vehicles,
of course.
right? When you buy an EV and you discard your diesel or your gasoline vehicle, what happens
Yeah.
to that and where
Yeah,
it's going?
yeah. So we need to think long term,
Yeah.
how we manage that. Chris, anything else you want to raise? That's all the time we've got. Let's.
Well, I wanted to go quickly on the situation of the fires that have
Okay,
been happening. And gun violence quickly. I mean, we
Yeah,
have been seeing a
wow.
lot of more gun violence in recent times, and it's happening at not a good time with Carnival just around the corner.
The hospital, the men's surgical
Yeah.
ward is closed to the
It's
public here.
Close to the public.
I mean,
because
should the
of
public
possible
suffer as a
violence.
result of, I mean,
Gang violence, as they stated. So I think again we have a
shouldn't this
situa-
person move somewhere else? I mean, how do you inconvenience the whole state for in a situation like this? I don't know, but I think this needs to be looked at. I don't agree with inconvenience. I mean, you imagine there's so many individuals that are in a male surgical that their families can't see them. They have to take. No, this
Well,
is
a
on
lot of the gang
this
violence
is unacceptable.
Is gang members are getting into the hospital in the male surgical
Yeah,
ward,
yeah.
and they're worried that the
But
other gangs will come
but I'm
in.
saying there are other regular, most of the people, they are regular patients, and their families can't see them, they can't access them directly. So it's not just an inconvenience, it's because in a lot of cases, families do interpersonal care, meaning that they pay them, they
Correct,
supply
but
food,
the
and
government-
that is no longer
The
possible.
hospital doesn't screen people coming into the hospital, so you ain't checking them for knife and cutlass and guns.
Yeah, but
That's
I
part
will
of the
move. I
problem.
will move those patients somewhere else secure.
Yeah, but-
Secure.
But the issue is
but-
where.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just saying it's something to look at in the future.
So that's
you
why
know?
they suspend it.
Yes.
Because they can't take a chance.
Yeah.
Because they don't have metal detectors to
right.
understand how people searching them to see what they have.
So I'm saying that the government, we should look at that situation to address it differently in the future, rather than inconveniences the entire country, the public
I
in
think
general.
the amnesty never worked. When
No,
you see
that
the gun
never
violence,
worked. Chris, of course, and the house fires we've had in the northwest and George area, we've had in a month, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses went down. You have over 20, 22, 23 persons homeless. It's a major issue. The question is,
and
why
most
is
of
it-
them, most of them, if not all of them, are wooden houses.
yeah, wooden
structures.
houses, wooden structures.
So,
yeah.
I mean, here it is again, the families living in these houses, we don't know the real cause. If children have been left unsupervised,
yeah.
or they're using candles in an
And the last big one I
manner.
hear is a girlfriend light a fire and run away instead of the husband, whoever attending to it, attending the fire. He apparently, allegedly, ran after.
And the issue here is the impact on taxpayers like yourself and
Yeah.
myself. When
And the
when
children too.
when
They're
you-
not responsible.
When you lose your wooden structure, most wooden structures have no insurance. So you
No.
have no insurance coming
Yeah.
there. So they have to come to the public
Yeah.
for clothes, for
Yeah.
housing, and the government
Yeah.
to build back a house and build it and put them back in some
That's
living
correct.
situation.
That's
I mean,
correct.
hurricane season.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody going to need shelter. So when these things happen, and then again, the side issue, the one in Bush issue, the fire engine couldn't get access as it's needed to get
Because
access.
of parking.
So because of the parking in the road, everybody have their
So
garage
we
in the
really, really, sorry about this situation because a lot of children, and but one thing I know, Chris, the community is helping out. The community has come forward
there's always a
and giving
community.
support.
Always.
Chris, that's all the time we had. Viewers, stay with us. When we come back, we have Cecil Noel, the CEO of the Spice Mass Corporation, to talk everything Carnival, bring you up to date on this major significant event. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, CRN involves doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories. We're taking care of Grenada.
Summer is officially here, and MTV and Fusion FM is ready to bring you all the elements of Spice Mass with Carnival Pulse. From July 28th to August 8th, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, it will be vibes and musical energy on television and radio. Carnival Pulse will get you ready for the most anticipated summer festival. Something pulsating is about to happen. Don't miss out.
Welcome back, viewers. As we indicated earlier, this evening with us we have Mr. Cecil Noel, who is the CEO of Spice Mass Corporation, to bring us up to date on what is happening in the Carnival arena, all the areas of interest, security, preparation of the bands, the Calypso at its various stages, semi-finals and tents and judging of tents and so on. So Cecil is going to give us a full rundown on what is happening and how you, as a person who want to participate in the activities coming up in the next few weeks, what you need to pay attention to, and so on. So, Cess, welcome. Pleasure to have you, as usual.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, so, Cess, give us an idea of, let's start with Calypso, because I know we had a lot of preliminaries. Calypso now is divided into Groovy, Soca, and Kaiso. And the judging of the tents, have that been completed?
That is not completed as of last night. But even before I delve into it, I just want to say a really good night to your viewers and listening audience, wherever they are. So yes, we had the judging of the tents. We had 5 tents this year. The preliminary judging of the tents commenced last week, Friday, with the judging of the, the Northwest Brigade at Happy Hill. They had a very good show, and I believe they have a few of the participants coming out going through to the semi-finals. And we moved from the Northwest and we went up to the Deluxe Cinema for Bads. Again, and let me take the opportunity to congratulate them on their 30th anniversary as an organization. It's not easy to have these organizations going for these long times. So congrats to the Bads on that achievement. And again, they had a full slate of Calypsonians up there on Saturday. I must say the show was really well received by the audience. And Deluxe Cinema, for most part, it was not capacity, but it was just minimal space, empty.
But so let me ask you something. When, a few years ago, tents was an issue. We didn't have as much tents as we have 5 now. And the participation and the level and the quality in the tents was questioned in the past, probably in the last 5 years or so, it could be longer. But what are you seeing now? Are you seeing a revival of the tents, the interest in the tents, and our patrons going and wanting to see tents and see what's happening there?
Definitely. It's a lot of enthusiasm in terms of the Calypso tents. And what I've noticed, especially the age in terms of the people are going, it's what I would consider more mature. And these people are really eager to the extent that, I was talking about the show with Bads. That was what you could consider a sellout event. And from Bads, you actually went over to the... to Kingdom. Right. In St. David's. And for example, the amount of chairs that were originally put down for that, they had to go and look for chairs. So I'm just saying that to make the point that people, there is that resurgence in terms of the interest in Calypso. And what I noticed, there are some Dayak people, it doesn't matter which part in terms of geography
They
of
travel.
Grenada, they travel to go to all the Calypso shows.
I used
you
to do
know.
that once upon a
Yeah,
time.
yeah. And from that, you had, after the Kingdom in St. David's, you also had you went back to Deluxe Cinema for fireworks. That's a sister of the Bards, and again, it was a sellout, and I really want to make the point. There were some really, what I consider, excellent acts in terms of the musical accompaniment, in terms of the lyrical and the composition of the calypso.
So that was my next question. How do you see the resurgence in the tents and what is happening there in terms of how is that helping with the quality? Because when I listen to Calypso, I listen to Calypso more than Soca, for example, and I find the quality this year has really improved,
Tremendous.
lyrically and musically as well.
And that is the point I'm making. But I tell you, there's another part of it that we really must hook on. I am seeing a lot of young people actually singing Calypso now as well.
That is a good thing.
It's a really good thing. And not only some young people, but we also have some young people who were into soca who have moved over to Calypso. So I think it augurs well for Calypso and what is expected.
And Groovy and Soca have been finished judging and getting ready for the semi-finals
They're
as
finished
well.
judging. So the last Calypso tent was judged last night. That is Kaiso Classic, also in St. David's. And they too, it was an exceptional performance at GBSS. Again, I think it was a kind of surprise audience attendance. It was a good turnout there again. So I think Calypso is in a very good place. My drawback though, I know in the past the Calypso tents were expected to launch early and to have several shows, and that is part of what I would like to see happen. I think for most part you see the launch, you see the judging, and that's it.
Right.
Because even coming out of some of the tents, the humorous Calypso, you had a few of those in some of the tents that in the past, I know it's always to draw people to the tent. It was a big thing.
And what you can say in the tent, you can't say.
Yeah,
other
exactly.
places,
As a matter of fact, when you go to the tent, you get a real deal because you wouldn't hear it on the radio,
That's right.
So I think Calypso is in a really good place. So out of the judging of the 5 tents, we have now selected the 20 semi-finalists, and that semi-finalist is going to be on Sunday the 27th. At
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday at
Sunday.
Progress Park.
At Progress Park.
At Progress Park. But you also asked the question about the Groovy and Power Soca. The preliminary judges for those took place earlier, and we also have the semi-finalists announced for those. You usually have 30 people selected for the Power Soca.
Right.
We ended up with 31 this year because there was a tie, and similarly for the Groovy, it's 25. We ended up with 27. And again, I'm making mention of it because it shows the keen rivalry and the closeness in terms of the quality of what's going on. And I think we have some really, really good, if I may even add the word powerful, groovy songs especially.
Oh yeah, I've been listening to Groovy. I think there are really some nice Groovy Soca.
They really are.
I started to like Groovy more than Power Soca. I mean, old people like me have to be able to dance for longer. They can't
So
keep up with the
great.
Power Soca.
Yeah, but and the semis for the Groovy and the Power Soca, those are going to be coming up this week, the 24th and 25th at Progress Park. So I take an opportunity.
Because I noticed this year you have separated Groovy from Power Soca. In the past, it used to be merged, Groovy and Soca.
No. For the semis, we have them separate.
Okay, but
So we have them separate, but for the finals, it's one big show. It's like 2 in 1. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Also, is it the finals that
The
merge takes
finals
place?
is merged, yeah.
Right.
So we're really inviting everyone to come up for the semis at Progress Park. That in itself, we make the effort to spread the activities, at the different venues. So I think it's going to be some excellent show for the semi-finals. Very, very keen, very keen rivalry.
I
Good
expect
music.
you're going to start at 8 o'clock.
We
Because
are
I've been hearing you talking about this 8 o'clock prompt start.
And we have been doing that.
Right.
And I mean, I will step back and say the few times last year we didn't start, when we start a few minutes late, it was really beyond the control of us, if I may say it so. Even at the preliminaries, each and every one, the national anthem started 8 o'clock, despite how many people were there. And I think by the time we did that the first night, and we sent a message, it's one of the messages we asked the MC to make sure we keep announcing to people, is that it's going to start 8, and they all started on 8.
And if you ain't turn up and you're not there, you lose your
You lose it. So in other words, you'll be spending some money and not benefiting all of
possibly
it.
getting any benefit.
So that's the case. We are going for the 8 o'clock start in all cases.
And in terms of security, let's branch off to security. Let Byron take some of the others. But from a security standpoint, how is that progressing? Because we've seen these odd incidents now with gun violence and so on, which could put somewhat of a dimmer on what we're going to. Because Grenada Carnival has been known for being a safe carnival.
It is one of the selling
over
points.
the years.
Yeah.
And I mean, forget we 100,000 jab, but we're safe. And that is a main attraction to people to come into Grenada and enjoy the Carnival week and the activities. How is the planning on the security side going with the police?
The planning is going very well. We have had several interactions with the police force, talking about from the high-ranking officers, the commissioner and his team, down to the officers that are going to be directly involved in making sure that what is being planned happen. I can also tell you, I think even today there would have been a briefing. Again, from a police standpoint, we have to give them the layout of the main venue, which is the National Stadium, so that they understand where the security forces ought to be deployed, where people are coming in for entrance, where tickets going to be sold, which part people are going to be sitting in for VIP and so forth. So it's very, very much on track.
I heard one of the officers today speaking about a couple things, and he asking for patience among people traveling for going to carnival events or not, just general travel, because he said that a couple things, they'll be having checkpoints throughout the country, and you may get checked twice. And as a person who probably not particular, you might get frustrated that they check you down the road, and higher up you get checked again. And the police is saying this is for your security. And of course, asking for the general public not to walk with things that they know or drive with things that they know is prohibited, because it creates more work for them. So.
But and the thing about it, in addition to having the police officers, we also have private security, because things like doing the scanning in terms of people entering venue and so is key. In addition to that, we have marshals who are going to be assisting in certain roles from a security standpoint, as well as making sure things go smooth, especially like on the road in the case of the marshals.
And the policies are followed.
Yeah.
Because one of the things you could argue is that you will tell band leaders this is what we expect, and on the day, without the marshals, anything happening.
Yeah. And it has happened over the years, but we're really working diligently to ensure that we get better cooperation. So what we have done is to have meetings with the various stakeholders, in this specific case, as you mentioned, mass bands, to let them know what's happening, let them understand the route, where we're starting, and so forth. We are going to be doing the actual dipping for position in terms of where the bands will be lined up on the street on Monday. So when that is done, people have a clear understanding. This is the route, for example, Monday Night Mass is going to be starting from my Lexus Inn. When we do the dip-in, people will know which part on the route their band ought to be lined up to commence the parade.
And Monday Night Mass have over the years been criticized heavily for the lateness. You're coming in on the carnage 12 in the night, and people waiting, I can't say, I hope we could get that.
We are working assiduously to really fix that. And I dare say, I believe it will be fixed, although we also know it's not an easy thing to manage. But we're working hard, and I think one of the main things is that educational aspect in terms of having the dialogue, communicating with the
and patrons have to know that if your band had to leave at 7 o'clock, you need to be there.
You need to be there.
You need to be there to partake,
So part of the discourse we had with the band leaders is telling them that it is their responsibility for most part to ensure that the people who play with them are prepared and ready for when time to move. I know, for example, there's a band who have openly said to its revelers, the people that are going to be with them, that hey, if you know you have your costume, you pay money for your costume, this is the time you're supposed to start. You're supposed to be there. You're not there. Where you're going. So they're actually sending out that clarion call to tell people, hey, there's no need for you to go to St. Patrick to play Juve Morning if you know you have to be back in town to be doing what you have to do. So I think for most part, the bands, they are working with us. And as a result of that, we open to see greater success.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, we cannot, I mean, lateness, even with the revelers, creates problems for everybody because, as you say, you give bands particular positions so that if you're carded to move as number one and your revelers ain't coming, and so you can't move.
Yeah.
Because you ain't have nothing to show if your people didn't turn up.
And I mean, and the message is being sent there from the discussion we had with the police, and we don't want it to sound in any way draconian, but the truth is that we have to get it right. And if bands are not prepared to move when it's their time to move, they're going to be asked to go on the side so that who's ready to move can move. But there are also other things we're looking at as consequences. You may be asked, for example, to take your music off if you are not doing what is expected of you.
Ready to move.
And ready to move. So these are some of the things that we have discussed with them. They understand it, and we really working hard to ensure that these are adhered to for a smooth
and take you up on your favorite pet subject, as band.
Okay. I was just listening to a comment coming from a viewer. But here's the thing. I understand what's happening, but Carnival, for me, is not just a rivalry. It's a major economic lifeline for local vendors, artisans, small business operators, cultural entrepreneurs, and a significant draw from the diaspora and visitors from around the world, actually, you know. I want to go a little bit in terms of looking back at the lessons from 2024. Were there any formal post-event evaluation or assessment of SpiceMass 24? And what was the key findings, and what recommendations are now incorporated into 2025 from the experience of last year?
And to answer you, yes, there was a symposium. It included personnel from the ministry, including personnel from the Cultural Foundation, SpiceMass. But what I think was most critical, it was open to the public. And it was facilitated by Mr. Colin Dow, who is no stranger to this and doing this. Yeah. And it was well attended, and information coming out of that as well, very much in keeping to what I would consider we need to better SpiceMass as a product, to better SpiceMass as an event. And some of the key takeaway from those were, and I will start with the first one, which I will say is the finances. It was very evident that the finances that are required to ensure a successful SpiceMass coming from the coffers of government, that it be increased. That was one of the key aspects. The whole question of increase in terms of staff and specific staffing for SpiceMass, that also came out. And let me just make a point, because a lot of people are not aware of it. We operate with a very small staff. But at the same time, as you said, Byron, it is one of the biggest socioeconomic events of the island. Not one of, as a matter of fact, the biggest. The biggest. Yeah. And having said that, sometimes when I make a comment like that, people ask me to quantify it in terms of numbers, which I don't have. So what I can tell you, part of what also came out is some way of evaluating
measuring
it. And if you remember last year when I was here, I did in fact say that one of the things we endeavoring to do is an economic impact assessment. Yeah. We have actually started that, and it was the first phase of it that was done. It was done after the event. Now what we endeavoring to do is to have the second phase of it that will incorporate people being here, and just as the event ends, have some surveys so people leaving at the airport and capturing those relevant information.
And the average spend.
And the average spend.
You can determine that.
Yeah. Yes, it can.
Based on the quantities.
I would take the opportunity to say here, though, even coming out of the first phase of that evaluation of the economic impact assessment, as well as the symposium, we have, in fact, I mean, it's my understanding, and I think it's going to be made known at some point, that government is going to increase the subventions that is going to be.
What is it presently?
It's presently 1 million, and let me just add, We had, in fact, requested some additional last year, so we got 1.5. And I'm understanding that we're probably going to get an additional 1.5 at least.
Excellent.
I hope I'm not jumping the gun by saying that.
One of the things, of course, the comment last year we saw, particularly the parade of the bands. Where is Fancy Mass going? Where is it presently? In fact, I met parents who said they're not going to bring their children to see the parade of the bands because it was more nudity than anything else. Briefs, you know. So what's happening here? What's the expectations this year on this? Should I bring my child?
I'd be very cautious in saying that, but what I can tell you though, from a Spice Mass perspective, in terms of the corporation, we have in fact had dialogue, as I said before, with the bands, and it is one of the things that came up. Because where I sit as the CEO, I have had a number of people, different organizations, from government organization to civic organization, religious organization, all saying the same thing, that something needs to be done. So I can openly say here that a letter was actually constructed, sent to Massband, indicating that these are the outcry, and you know, we're asking you to please make the effort to do better. And I see you smiling, Miranda. This is actually a first step of what I think is the, for example, if I'm going to be wrong, if I may say that way, the intent is to have a second step towards this that will probably a little more tough, if I may say so.
We look out for that. The other thing is, of course, the public viewing. You have pay-per-view, of course, you know, and previously I think it was attached mainly to the main events, not the semis. This year, or was it previously, that everything is now pay-per-view? I mean, this is a national event. Why not some of those events are in fact made public? We have local television stations that they are, because most of the pay-per-view is primarily in the diaspora. I mean, how?
No, we have it local.
It's but I mean, but you asked about the pay-per-view. But honestly, before I talk about the pay-per-view, I mean, you mentioned the whole question of the mass and on the street. I believe one of the things that we need to do, and we have commenced doing that, in order to curb some of what we see in that, in some cases, not pleasing to some people. The whole question of the traditional mass, which we see as authentic.
And when is that happening? The main event.
So I'll tell you. So what we are saying is that these need to be really pushed and pushed strong. The traditional mass. Make sure that these things happen. Make sure that they come true. So we are investing a lot of time and effort working with the traditional mass in terms of, you know, coming forward. And because we think that the more we work with the traditional mass, try to get more young people involved, try to get it in schools, we think that if we give that the dominance, it will in fact, I would say, maybe cause a shift in what happened with the Fancy Mass Band. So the intent for this year is for the traditional mass bands. On Monday, they are going to be
integrated?
Well, not just integrated, but we want to give them the prominence of being on the street. So Monday we have the Fancy Mass. They're going to be coming out to parade on the streets.
So when is Jab Jab expected to end?
So Jab Jab, I'll give you both start and end. Jab Jab is expected to start from 4, anyway from 4, and end by 9:30. By 9, we're going to be asking
It's
the
already
people.
started. I mean, it started by 4. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
We're talking Juve
You're talking about Juve morning.
morning.
It's going to happen everywhere. That's not going to happen in any part of the country. You know that. That's just maybe for the city local, which you will try to do.
Well, I will tell you, I will say this because the truth be told, in having gone around the parishes, because what we did, we have a series of meetings with all the Carnival parish committees. And based on the discussions, we basically understand and come to the conclusion that with the exception of St. George, where I say it will start 4 and end by 9:30, the others are going to be ending by midday. And one of the key factors that we're looking at here, what they're saying, because of the limited events they have, in order for especially the vendors and people to make a little monies, you know, that it is one of the things that they would like go on a little longer than what we do in St.
The Spice Mass intervened. Of course, there was an issue with the Jab Jab. The Prime Minister had made a statement about it's too early, but then he came out and said, let the job play, you know, whatever. But the fact that they started a month in advance, a kind of a, how does the corporation interpret this, and what it's, how it's going to be dealt with in the future? Any?
Well, I can't say exactly how it's going to be dealt with in the future, but I think for most part, how I view the job, and this is how I relate it. I think the fact that we talk of job as being something authentic, something real and special to Grenada, I honestly believe we should keep it in a manner that make people want to come and see it. And let me explain that. I think by having these pre-events, if I may call them so, leading up to Juve morning, and not waiting to Juve morning to come out with a blast and let it be a surprise and let it be a nice feel. I still recall as a child, even if I was afraid, I wanted to see, I wanted to be there. Now, I think over time, with the regularity into which we see them, it has lost or continued in some way. It's kind of losing that the authenticity and appeal and surprise element. Yeah. So in that context, I think it's something that we need to probably kind of educate people on. The fact that we want it to remain something that people from, let's say, overseas, outside of Grenada want to come in to see. Let us have it in a way that it's going to be really appealing to them and not being seen so much before that.
A viewer, a viewer was just, I just got the note here from, a viewer was asking about the competition, but I think you talk about the soca and the groovy. What you said is that for the semis, they are separated, but for the final, the groovy and the soca is joined as one event.
No, groovy is groovy and
the groovy and the power. The
groovy and power soca,
yes, as
is one event.
So it basically is like 2 in 1. Yeah. Okay. And I say 2 in 1 because there's in terms of the judging, you have the groovy, Monarch, and you have the
exactly. So let's clarify. They wanted to know exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So that's what it is.
Okay, Chris.
That's what it is.
Yeah. No, I was asking about even the jab situation, and you know, when you look at short knee bands, they're getting very structured now.
Yes.
Yeah, they have short knee bands that you had to apply to come to them. They train. They talk about how to purchase the equipment and the outfit. I would like to see, and I know they have some big jab bands that are getting structured as well.
Yes.
So that if you're part of a particular jab band, they have times when you have to be there, how you behave, and so on. So I know there is structure coming, which, as I agree with you, if I'm somebody in diaspora who never experienced jab and I want to play, for example, and come in and play, you know, would you offer me something where I could get with the oil, tell you what is expected, and so on? That kind of structure that will help it build.
It's actually in place, and what I've noticed is that it's expanding. And when I say expanding, you have a few of the bands that are now seeing the need to really do that. Because it is also economic aspect for them. You know, they brand themselves, they make the pigment, whatever they use, and they have their own secret thing that they use. They make the helmets. So what happens is that people can now come to them and buy a package.
Right.
It is my understanding people pay, you know, in sums over $100 for just one of those helmets.
The helmets and the horn.
Yeah, so it is something that is really, you know, it can be lucrative if people organize themselves and structure it and do it well. And of course, it will help what happened Juve morning, because if we take note, and I mean, I wouldn't dodge saying it. When I saw what happened last year, it wasn't what I felt, what I wanted for my Juve. And we are looking at what we can do to make it better. We really want the Juve to be a more structured event as well.
I dare say the whole mass element of the Juve.
Well, even that.
I noticed Lions brought back the event, and that was always a signature event. You know, understanding the type of old mass. Is Old Mass going to be a part of it that's been encouraged from the
answer to that, Chris, is yes, and I hope there are people outside there who are hearing me. I'm really not satisfied with the number of bands and individuals that are coming forward to register for Old Mass. We have made the effort to reach out to a few people, but it's not happening. And I will comment by saying, it's something that maybe we need to start doing maybe in schools. The reason I'm saying that, most of the die-hard people playing Old Mass
dying
are
out.
now aged and dying out. I mean,
Dr.
you know,
Marcel died
we
on the side.
and I want to
Exactly.
mention here the likes of the Evelyn Mark,
Yeah.
who died last year. And we are hoping, for example, to be able to honor him in some way by using his name for the person who wins the Old Mass. But I'm really not seeing the number that we would like to see. We work along with the Lions Club to do the event last Sunday.
Yeah.
And in terms of the turnout, both from a participant standpoint as well as audience, from what I know of the past, it has really dwindled.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping there can be some resurgence that we can get back to
There's
that
a
level.
creativity element in Old Mass that you just, you know, it's missed.
Yeah.
It is.
When you see those things and you just,
Yeah.
or they play on the words and the pun
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
on,
Yep, yep.
it's just a special thing.
Creativity in this.
Yeah,
Yeah, because for example, this gentleman, Mr. Hall, this gentleman has been playing Old Mass for as long as I can remember, and still is. He's now at 92.
Wow.
And when I saw him, for example, at the youth center on Sunday, I'm thinking, even at 92, this man is just so still creative.
Yeah.
You know, he was played with. Well, maybe I shouldn't say it. I think the public need to come
Come on
out to
and
see
see it.
him.
Yeah.
But it was really fascinating to see him at this age, so in tune with what's going on, and could make you laugh and have a good time.
One of the issues with the jab that surface is the health aspect of it, the application of, in a lot of cases, used engine oils, being carcinogenous, cancerous and other issues. Is the Spice Mask Corporation, there's something that Spice Mask Corporation can look into in terms of investigating some alternative to the oil, which could be dangerous for humans on the skin?
Well, we have not done that on our own, but what we have endeavored to do is to have discussion with the jab bands themselves.
Yeah.
And the truth be told, I think most of them see the need to move away, and so they are doing that. So you will hear, for example, people, some of them using charcoal and oil and different things that they're doing. Some of them have their own secret pigment outside of that.
Yeah.
But I think the whole lesson, the lesson, if not being learned, is being learned, and people are moving away from that. Because it's
dangerous.
Because it's an issue, because even after Carnival, what you find, for example, that what happened with the clean off at the beach and different places, from an environmental standpoint, is something that we would like to see.
And I'd like to
some
go
change
there,
on.
if you permit me, because a big aspect of Carnival is the post cleanup, the sanitization, the streets and the venues. But the other point, of course, related to that is the vendors. What are the specific arrangements you have with vendors? Is it everything's in place? What can we expect? Last year, there were complaints from the vendors on the Carnage. They complained that because the Parade of the Bands took place outside of the Carnage, particularly the how you call it? The pretty mass, the Monday night mass,
Yes.
They were there. They paid fees and they had no sales. How has this been addressed this year? Vending?
So the vending arrangement is in place. And when I say vending arrangement is in place, vendors already came to the office, were able to register as vendors, pay the various
They get a
fees
location?
and get the location.
Okay.
And the locations, yes, it also involved the Carnage. So what we are doing are encouraging the bands as much as possible to go over to the Carnage. One of the sticking points that came up was that of the size of some of the trucks and the number of trucks.
Yeah.
We have actually done could I call it a drive-through test? And the intention is that the trucks will be able to go to the Carnage and turn. We have decided on a spot where they can turn and will turn. And for the general public, for knowledge and educational purpose, that's the area by the old Hubbard's garage, right in front of the NLA, going into the basketball court.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it for myself. It can make one turn and go.
Relating to persons like myself, elderly, we are down in the Carnage or in Tantine. There was one year when bleachers were installed, temporary bleachers. Are there any provisions being made for persons like me, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know, and children.
Yeah, we are making provisions for that. Some we are doing on our own Spice Mass, and some we are doing in collaboration with other
Private
civic.
contractors.
So, for example, we have Port Laurie Marina, and I hope I'm using the right one because there's so many affiliates inside there. But outside that nice grassy area in front of Bryden's, they have worked with us over the last couple of years, and they're doing that again this year. So they're going to have bleachers set up there, and we're going to. People, our patrons are invited.
Right. Okay.
I can't go
Well,
there.
one viewer is
Wait,
saying. Sorry. One viewer is asking that suggesting it's a good idea to separate the soca and the groovy. Soca and the groovy. They think that there's enough there for two separate shows. That it's too long and drawn out, difficult for persons. Several hours, and go late into the morning.
It is something that was discussed, and I know discussed a few times. I don't think we're at the stage where we see, quote unquote, the right fit in terms of breaking them out. Because in some cases, the discussions that came up, although the discussions were to separate them, in some cases, the discussions is separate them and put them with something else, or put something else with it. But we have not, and I know it's something that's ongoing, it's pretty dynamic. Maybe we would reach a stage, because some people think that groovy are so good that it could probably stand on its own. There were some people who were actually speaking in terms of marriage, and I know you raised it just now, but then you ask another question in terms of the steel band. Somebody, so there are different thought processes, but from the work done thus far, I cannot say we have reached that ground where we decide on what it will be best.
The other thing is steel band on the road.
Yes, I wanna go to steel
we're not
band.
having that. It's like
we
at
have
the
not.
Panorama, yes, but we're not feeling sufficient steel band. One viewer, in fact, suggested that we have steel band on the road for the parade of the bands, rather than the sound trucks. Chris.
Problem with that is, I could help Cecil answer
Exactly.
that, is getting the people to push the steel band for the length of time. And
We could
route.
automate it. We could put engines on them.
But you ain't getting, who pay for the automation? You understand? So I hear them, and I think Cecil, the committee was organizing to have steel band on the Carnage play,
Yeah.
so that you get a good mix, even with the trucks and the amplified song. But steel band is going to have a spot to play.
But and the truth is that steel band is really critical, if you ask me, when it comes to Carnival. I think it has a proper space there. What we have noticed over the years, it's a number of reasons why I think it is at the stage it's now, but I do hope that we can see that changing and getting back to where it used to be. And sometimes all it takes is one band to make a difference in the approach of what's going on. But playing with the bands, for example, I remember as a child with Comancheros, we played for different mass band, and then you have Angel Harps playing for another band. You had the other bands playing for mass bands.
Yeah.
But
Dimensions and so on.
yeah, but I think as time has elapsed and as things has changed, and younger people get involved in playing the mass and different dynamics come into play, what you find is that a lot of people, the revelers, unfortunately, wants to play and do not want to play the steel band, or maybe I should say the other way around, prefer to play with the loud blast of the DJ music. The panmen themselves, up to this year, they were taking me to task by saying, in cases when they come out to play, it's even difficult because one, they are playing, you have people on the side of the street playing their music, you have a steel band that may be in front of a truck playing, so it becomes really difficult
Logistically,
to do.
it's difficult.
Yeah. So we are looking at ways, and I know you mentioned the Carnage because we are trying to encourage them as much as possible to have, I wouldn't say a home, but let that be an area that they would want to play. Quite frankly, and I can't say it differently, I do not get from where I sit the feel that there's going to be much steel band on the road. So it's something we're working at.
Very, very unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
But
we hope it's something that we can work. It is.
One subject that hasn't come on, but clearly, and in past, if we judge from the past, that alcohol consumption is a major factor in Carnival, and we see situations that are unsightly, unhealthy, and that happened. Is the corporation making any statement on the consumption of alcohol? How do you anticipate this going to go? As usual?
But I won't say as usual. We have in the past put out some different, what should I call them? It's a little snippet reminding people, but not just about on the drinking. So for things like
the bands
don't
that
drink
are on
and
the
drive.
road serve alcohol.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the way the bands operate these days, it's a very inclusive.
The private sector do a lot
all
of
inclusive.
sponsorship for Carnival, and a lot of the private sector companies are, companies that sell alcoholic drinks.
Mm-hmm.
So they are going to push their drinks if they have a ban, like Monday Night Mass. When you have a Monday Night Mass with a sponsor like Carib, is Carib they're going to sell on their truck or push on their truck.
So knowing all of that, it is difficult. And knowing all of that would happen, what we do. So for example, even tonight, I would take the opportunity to remind people, hey, you could go have fun. And if you're going to be drinking, we still ask you to understand your limits. But more so after what happened on the road, you have things like the driving and all of that.
Yeah.
So, we sending that clarion call to be moderate in your drinking. Remember that if you're going to be drinking, have somebody that is not drinking driving.
Right.
Those are some of the things.
So you can manage it.
Yeah,
that's the point.
and we have in fact been approached by a few people to do things like sober zone, especially at the stadium where we will be having our major events. And I didn't get to say much about the stadium. If I can, I would like to talk about
please,
that.
yeah.
But all like the sober zone, and we're hoping that some of these will aid. Because I say you may not be able to help the people to not drink,
Yeah, but at
but
least
what you
could
can do
sober
to
them up.
sober them up. Yeah.
Good.
So in terms of the stadium where we're having the major event, the
Events.
final events, we're going to be constructing two stages.
That's in the
there.
cricket stadium.
At the cricket stadium this
Right,
year.
yeah.
So we're going to be constructing two stadiums because,
2 stages.
yes, two stages, sorry. So at the Royal Louis Junior Murray side, we're going to have a smaller stage, the 40 by 60. And the intent is for the Queen Pageant as well as the Dimash Girl, which is a more intimate event to be held there. In terms of the seating capacity as well as if you put on chairs, it will really fit nicely, and it will encourage the Queen
closer.
contestants in
Yeah.
terms of that
Yeah.
closeness as well as the Calypsonians. It could give them that vibes, that feel to be able to go and perform, I would say, at their best. And then at the main stand, that's where we're going to be having the big stage.
Yeah, that's the players' pavilion, the members' pavilion. Yeah.
So we're going to have a stage here, 40 by 96, which is really big.
Panorama and so on.
Yes, and panorama, and I will add, the junior bands especially, they are growing so big that we actually had to make the stage bigger to accommodate them this year, right? And I'm saying that because it's really a good signal. It's a good sign that we have the young people.
We have succession planning going on.
Yes, and sometimes we
in
think
that
it's that,
way.
but it's not, because it's really good, because you see things like getting the young people involved in the steel band, it is so important, and I'm
Yes.
saying it because I've been there directly involved.
Yeah,
When you have them involved in that, listen, the amount of discipline you instill in them, you keep them away from other things that may be deemed destruction,
Excellent,
devious.
excellent.
So it is something,
Yeah.
it's a worthwhile
yeah,
investment, which is why I say sometimes the panorama, in terms of the attendance and the monies you make collecting at the door, it cannot pay for the event, but I think overall,
We'll pay in other aspects.
it's paying other aspects, because it really does act as a buffer, a zone that you develop our young
And
people in a direction that is
Years
very
gone by,
positive.
parents come and support their children.
It still happens,
Yeah.
and I
Yes,
think
it
it
still
is
happens.
happening increasingly.
We are out of time. Let me give you the opportunity to make a closing statement on Carnival 25.
But my closing statement will be, we promote it as the best mass by far. And we really like that tagline, and we do believe it speaks to what we do, the brand we have, what we offer, and how we sell it. So we want our patrons, whether you participate in as a reveler, whether you are a spectator, we want you to come out, play your part. We want, for example, things like time to be, adhered to.
Yeah.
Because that in itself is going to be one of the selling points. My chair say it all the time, and I do agree with him. What happened on the road for Carnival sometimes is what really determines the success of it. and not so much what happen at a closed venue, let's say the stadium. So we're asking people to come out, have fun, do it clean, do it safe. Listen, you're going to have fun, you don't need to walk with no weapon or anything.
Correct.
Come out, have fun. We sell Grenada Spice Mass as one of the safest in the world.
And it is.
We want to keep it that way because it is. So we asking people to come out, have fun, let's do it in a friendly manner. Let's be nice to everyone, or locals or foreigners, and let's make it a enjoyable event.
Congratulate you on your work so far, and we want to
Thank you.
wish on
Thank you.
behalf of all of us at MTV, Chris and myself, of course, wish Carnival 2025 all the success.
Thank you
know,
very
and
much, gentlemen.
Viewers, that's all the time we have. We want to thank you for being with us this evening, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.